It's raining again. The kind of cold, gray rain that washes away the chalk outlines before the cops even show. I'm standing over the body of what used to be a promise. They called him the American Dream. He was healthy in 95. Strong. Full of life. Nah. He's lying face down in a puddle of debt and stagnant wages. I duck under the yellow police tape. The air smells like cheap coffee and desperation. Bystanders are just walking by, staring at their phones, scrolling past the carnage. They don't even realize they're next. They think if they just follow the rules, the bad guys won't come for them. That's the first mistake in the city. I crouch down to inspect the pockets. Turned inside out. Not a dime left. Just a maxed-out credit card and a student loan statement that looks like a ransom note. Next to the body, I find a book. Old. Dog-eared. Total Money Makeover. The cover smiles at me. A friendly face selling a map to a city that burned down 20 years ago. The forensic report says he tried to save. He tried the baby steps. Put $1,000 in an emergency fund. Cute. $1,000 today barely covers the ambulance ride to the hospital where they pronounce you broke. In 1990, that was a safety net. Today, it's a paper napkin in a hurricane. I look at the tire tracks leaving the scene. Inflation. Big, heavy treads. They ran right over him while he was counting pennies for rice and beans. The gurus on the radio are still broadcasting the same signal. Cut up the cards, they say. Pay off the house. As if a house is something you can buy with a handshake and a summer job anymore. That's the real crime here. Not the poverty, but the lie that the poverty is your fault. They tell you it's the latte you bought this morning. I pull out my notebook. I do the math. The numbers don't lie, people do. The math says you need 3 jobs just to afford the rent on a 1-bedroom apartment in this neighborhood. But the old man on the radio tells you to deliver pizzas. He's solving a 2025 murder with a 1980 magnifying glass. He doesn't see the blood on the floor. The victim followed the advice perfectly. He didn't buy the avocado toast. He drove the beat-up Camry until the wheels fell off. And he still bled out. Why? Because the cost of survival didn't just go up. It mutated. Rent didn't creep up. It leaped out of the alley and mugged him. I light a cigarette, even though I quit years ago. The smoke helps hide the smell of institutional rot. This wasn't an accident. This was a hit. The system was designed to extract wealth, and the old advice is just the anesthesia to keep you quiet while they operate. Live like no one else, they chant. Yeah, well, look at him. Now you live like a pauper, while the hedge funds buy the block. I look up at the skyscrapers, piercing the smog. The lights are on up there. The people in the penthouses aren't clipping coupons. They're writing the laws. We need to find who did this. We need to trace the money. Grab your coat. We're going down to the archives. This investigation is just getting started. I drag the suspect into the interrogation room. He sits there, smug, wearing a suit that hasn't been stylish since Reagan was in office. I slam the file on the metal table. Talk, I say. Tell me how a kid making 40 grand is supposed to save for a down payment on a $500,000 starter home. He smiles that radio smile. Beans and rice, he says. Gazelle intensity. He's reciting a script from a world that doesn't exist anymore. I pace the room. The air is stale. I point to the evidence board. See this date. 1971. That's when the money died. That's when your generation pulled the ladder up. He doesn't look at the board. He doesn't want to see the fingerprints. The productivity went up, straight to the moon. The wages. They flatlined like a dead heartbeat. You're an accessory to the crime, I tell him. You're telling victims to save cash. Cash that is melting like an ice cube in a blast furnace. I pull out the inflation charts. Real inflation, not the government CPI numbers they cook up in the back room to keep the public calm. It's a silent thief. That's the perp we're really chasing. He doesn't break a window. He walks right through the front door because the Federal Reserve gave him a key. Every time they print $1 trillion, they steal a slice of your life energy. It's invisible taxation. And this guy in the chair says, cash is king. Cash is trash, I whisper, leaning in close. When the currency is being debased at 7% a year, holding cash isn't safety. It's slow-motion suicide. I show him the housing data. In his day, a house was twice the annual salary. You could pay it off bagging groceries. Today, it's 10 times the median income. Institutional investors are buying whole neighborhoods, turning the American dream into a rental subscription service. Pay off the mortgage in 15 years, he suggests. I laugh. It's a dry, bitter sound. You can't pay off a mortgage you can't even qualify for. He talks about interest rates like they're your friend. High-yield savings. There is no yield. After inflation and taxes, you're paying the bank to hold your money. I switch tactics. I show him the student loans. He says, don't take them. Easy to say when college cost a nickel and a handshake back then. Now, it's a ransom note. You pay the ransom to get the job, to pay the debt, to buy the food that costs double what it did 4 years ago. The snowball method, he mumbles. Pay the smallest debt first. It's psychological, he claims. It makes you feel good. Feelings don't pay the interest, I snap. When the credit card is charging 29%, math doesn't care about your feelings. The math says you're drowning. He's not the mastermind, I realize. He's just the distraction. He's the magician waving his left hand, so you don't see the syndicate robbing the vault with the right. I unlock the door. There's no point keeping him here. He's obsolete. A rotary phone in a 5G world. But the real villains, they're still out there, printing the loot. I step back out onto the street. The rain hasn't stopped. It's washing the grime into the gutters, but the rot goes deeper than the sewers. Case closed. No. The case is cold. The verdict isn't what you want to hear. The bad guys aren't going to jail. The central bankers, the corporate landlords, the policy makers, they're toasting champagne while you clip coupons. So here's the police report. Read it carefully. It's the only way you survive this city without getting mugged by the invisible hand. First, kill the shame. That's their favorite weapon. They want you to feel bad because you can't afford a house. They want you to think it's your moral failure. It's not. It's math. Second, stop playing their game. The old rules, go to school, get a job, save 10%. That's a recipe for a slow death. You can't save your way out of a currency collapse. You have to think like the villains. They don't hoard cash. They hoard assets. Things the government can't print. Real estate, gold, businesses, digital scarcity. Debt isn't always the enemy. That's what the old man got wrong. Consumer debt is a chain, yes. But strategic debt, that's a ladder. The rich use debt to buy assets that pay the debt off. Your labor is being devalued every second. If you're trading time for money, you're losing. You need to trade money for money. You need equity. You need to own a piece of the machine. Loyalty is a fool's game. The company watch. They pawned that years ago. Job hopping is the new promotion. You have to be a mercenary in this economy. The safety net is gone. Social security. That's a Ponzi scheme running on fumes. You are your own bailout. You are your own central bank. Ignore the noise. When the news tells you the economy is strong, check your grocery bill. The map they show you on TV doesn't match the territory. Diversify your survival. One income stream is just one point of failure. You need backups. Side hustles aren't cute hobbies anymore. They're defensive fortifications. Educate yourself on the tax code. It's the rulebook for the rich. They wrote it to protect themselves. If you don't read it, you're just the prey paying the bill. Stop asking for permission. The gatekeepers are blind. The degree doesn't guarantee the salary. The skill does. The leverage does. The ability to solve problems does. It's a harsh verdict. I know. You wanted me to tell you it's going to be okay, that if you just skip the latte, you'll be a millionaire. But I'm a detective, not a fairy godmother. I deal in facts. And the fact is, the economic winter is here. You can freeze, or you can build a fire. The boomers had a tailwind. You have a headwind. You have to pedal twice as hard just to stand still. That's the reality. Accept it, then hack it. The radio guy is still talking in the background, rambling about envelopes and mutual funds. I turn the volume down until it's just silence. I pull my collar up against the chill. The city is tough, but you can be tougher. You just have to stop listening to the ghosts of 1990. The world changed while you were sleeping. Wake up. Keep your hand on your wallet, your assets hard, and your eyes open, kid. It's a dark world out there.